when you fight and tug, you're going to still hear moments where you have to deny your flesh, right? And say, all right, that's not God. This is a God thing. And I know this is a God thing, and I'm going forth to that. When did you recognize that confidence to say, boom, this is God and this is the way I'm going? And listen, nobody's talking me out of that.
You know, it's actually funny. It's something that you said to me, and it probably had a reverse effect of what you thought it was going to have.
What was it?
Like, you know, I remember being on a manifestation talk, and I remember saying, like, you know, I have been in Georgia for 6 years, and it seems like every 2 years I get laid off, and I have never experienced anything like this in my life. And you was like, stop saying that.
Yeah.
You was like, stop saying that.
Yeah.
And right before you said that, we were talking about like my job going away again. And you were like, but you knew that. You felt that months ago.
You felt that tugging.
And you didn't move.
That's
so
right.
that's what you get. That's literally how you said it. And I was like,
don't say that. I said that's what you get. I'm about
you
to say
did, because you was like, you were supposed to move your feet months ago when you knew it.
Listen, sometimes that tough love is good because it sticks, right?
It does. And it did. Because I was like, she right. I said 6 months ago that I was thinking this wasn't going to work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I passively thought about it.
Yeah.
And I didn't do nothing to change it, even though I knew it.
You had a whole fresh, updated resume I gave you. I said, here's the resume.
And that's why you told me that's what you did. But what that, for whatever reason, and that's why I say it probably had the reverse effect you thought it would.
Yeah.
What that told me in that moment, because I beat myself up the rest of that night, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, you did know, and you can't, how you feel away, because you did know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What I didn't know, though, is what I was supposed to do. Because regardless of what it looks like today, in that moment, it was like, I ain't got no job.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that I'm a real estate agent.
Right. I got to figure it out.
Right.
People that come in your life are set to give you experiences.
Sometimes they're a lifetime. Sometimes they're minutes.
Sometimes they're a moment. Sometimes they're a little bit of a ride, but it still has an exit. If you understand that the experience is supposed to give you something, the sooner you can progress forward in life. They spend a lot of time in the cemetery grieving old relationships, old people, friendships that has left them versus living life. Yes, it happened. Yes, they're gone. Bury the feelings that you had. In me burying them, I'm pulling what made me stronger and what I need. That situation ended and they're gone, but I'm better because of that.
Yeah.
Not because they're gone.
225 moments where his glory shines. Yeah.
So what encouragement would you give to somebody on this journey? And let's just say they haven't gotten on the road yet. We'll do it in bites. So the first piece is they haven't gotten on the road yet. But they feel a tugging to get on the road, right? What advice would you give them?
What you waiting on? Because that ain't the first time you felt that tug.
Oh, that's good.
It's not. And I do believe that God calls his people. And if he's tugging at you, go.
Yeah.
Because you going to end up over there.
Yeah. like you can do this the easy way.
Yeah.
Or you can do it the hard way.
Like stop crashing your car and go over there. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to have trials.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that, you know what I'm saying, you're not going to have adversity.
Yeah.
It just means that you are more aware that you're not alone.
Yeah.
And it kind of, at some point you get to the point where you understand that this is in the plan and there's something that I have to learn from this, whether it's uncomfortable, whether I don't like it, whether it damn near killed me. There's something that I'm supposed to take away from this. And once you figure that part out, it's easier to navigate. And you still gonna have them moments when you like, I don't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? You still are, but they, for me anyway, they're less frequent. So I would ask them, what are you waiting for? Because you done tried everything else. You done did it your way.
Okay. All right. So then let's kind of pull it to you're on the road. What would you say to the person that is on the road, right? So they've gotten off the bench and the tugging of should I get on the road or should I not? Now they're on it and they're in the lane. What advice would you give them?
I would tell them to check their car. Because, some cars, you let go of the steering wheel, it drive for you.
Yeah.
And if you let go of the steering wheel and let it drive for you, instead of trying to fight it, because, we be fighting that steering wheel when it get to, I would just say, don't fight it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if we listen to that voice inside of us, we had to pick songs in Manifestation Circle.
Yeah.
And I picked the song. And I remember this was when I first joined.
Yeah.
And you was like, I like that song, but I think your song is Mary, Mary, the God in Me.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that's what I heard spiritually. Yeah.
You told me to pick a song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, but I believe you were right. I believe that's what it was, because I do believe that if you listen to that voice that's inside of you, that is the God in you talking.
It's the God
in there. He telling you what to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we disregard that voice, and we shouldn't. So I would tell them, let go and let the car drive.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're on the path and they're driving. Where do you get to a point where you're driving and God is in the cruise control seat? Like, what would you tell that person? Because cruise control means that you don't even have to press the gas. God got the power and he's taking you all the way in, right? So what would you say to that person that you're saying, hey, don't put your foot on the gas, just relax and let God do the rest, and you just be in a position? What would you say to them?
I would say that that's when you know you're in the right spot. Because when things are just happening without thought, without pressing, they're just happening, and
yeah,
that's what you're doing.
Yeah,
that's when you have let go. That's when everything starts unfolding the way that it's supposed to be, and it seems like you're in the right place at the right time at all times.
Yeah.
I would say embrace it, because as scary as it is, because let me be clear, it is scary. As scary as it is,
yeah.
You're in the right place.
Yeah.
And you have to let God. If you let Him do it, you'll be fine.
How can we remain open, in your opinion? How can we remain open to God's continuous restoration in your life? Because it's not a one-time show. Like, God don't show up and you restore you and you like, okay, good. Or he's restored something in your path and you're good. You just have to keep going. So what would you say on your path? Like, how do you remain open to receiving the restoration on your path constantly, so that you have more faith to keep believing, and then you still give it to Him?
I think it's your conversations with God. I have a million journals that have a million different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my journals that was given to me, like, by a very good childhood friend, is real detailed. Like, it wants to know what you ate today. It wants to know what your declaration for the day is. It wants to know your habits, to get to where you're trying to get to in the corner of this. And then there's thoughtful prayer. There's prayerful responses as well that you kind of fill in. And so it's very detailed. And so what it's taught me to do is be real detailed in what I ask for in my prayers, or what I talk about in my prayers. And my prayers, like I said, I don't sound like an evangelist. What it sound like is I'm just talking to my friend, but I acknowledge him as Father and, or God, depending on how I'm feeling that day. And so I think that when you stay connected in that manner, not only are you redefining what you want and where you want to go, but you're including Him, and you're giving Him the opportunity to align you to His will.
Okay. That's good. That's good. And I feel like the including Him is a part of the habits that you have in your day, right?
Yeah.
It's the things like you said, hey, at 11:11, this is what I'm doing. At 2:25, this is what I'm doing. I'm connected to, and some people may say the number thing is kind of not necessary to them.
It may not be.
Right. But I always say it's according to what you believe, right? Nothing is going to happen unless you believe it. Even down to your faith. I can have a lot of faith for you, friend, but if you don't believe it, God may be holding it up until you believe, right?
And
Because
faith without work is dead.
faith without work is dead. Exactly. And so I heard you say that, and then that formula opens you up to constantly receive. It's the habits, it's the things you set in your path that keeps you in a place of constantly receiving.
I think one of the other things that if you stay in your conversation with God, because again, this is my consistency is new. Right?
Yeah.
Because we talk to God when we mad or we going through it, and then be like, "Oh my God," or
Yes.
God, please, you know what I'm saying? But I'm saying just when I'm not mad, when I'm not sad, and what I recognize is that when you do that, you also it boomerangs. Kind of how you were saying you can have all the faith. Like yesterday, I had a conversation with a friend. They was just going off. They was, I left my wallet at work, and I got to wait for my boss to bring my wallet. I'm about to run out of gas, and they were like, today is such a bad day, and I was like, you are having a bad moment.
Oh, that's good.
Today is not a bad day, and don't claim that for your day, because then it will be a bad day. You are having a bad moment. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be all right. And we got off the phone.
Well, you was evangelizing then.
10 minutes later, they 10 minutes later, they called me back, and they said, thank you. And I said, for what? And they were like, thank you for telling me not to claim that over my day. Because when I got off the phone with you, I woosah'd. And they said that some man at the gas station walked over to their car and asked, was everything okay? And they were like, I'm fine. I'm just, because they seen him sitting there for a minute. It's like, I'm fine. I'm just waiting on my boss to bring my wallet. I left it at work. That man filled up their gas tank.
And listen, that goes back to the very first episode of 225 when I told the story about how my friend said to me, this stops today.
Right now.
Right. So sometimes people forget that the closest thing to God is someone else. We think God is going to give us this nice little spooky little something that's going to make us shake. Ooh,
right.
I feel it, right? But sometimes it's someone that's close enough to you or close enough in your experience, right, to just declare what God calls for your life. And the moment that you made the declaration, she came back and thanked you.
Yeah. And it is crazy because sometimes you don't recognize that it is that someone else. Like I can tell you, I told you I was doing the Bible plan. I could tell you the friend that had me doing the Bible plan, she is my little prayer warrior. Okay.
Yeah.
And when she asked me if I wanted to do it, I didn't want to do it. But I did, but I did it. You know what I'm saying? I was like, because I didn't want to, I didn't know that I could commit to actually, you want me to read scriptures every day. And sometimes it's a long time, but I did it. You know what I'm saying? And that first year that we did it, I stumbled. I can't hold you. It's 365 days in a year. I probably did 150 of them. But then the second year we did it, because we did the same one. The second year we did it, I was like, okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? I got a good, I got like 290.
Yeah.
But this last time we did it, I did it fully.
So were you guys reading the scripture and then have a discussion, or what was that like?
So the first year we read the scriptures and then we would have a Bible study because it was 3 of us. So we would try to coordinate our schedules and have this chat, and that didn't work.
Okay.
Now in the Bible app, you can write what you thought and somebody can come under you. So we kind of would talk there, but then not everybody would comment on everything, right?
Yeah.
So you end up commenting on what resonated with you. And if it didn't, you didn't say nothing. And so we're all busy and we have our lives. And so it just kind of became understood that, if it resonated, they're going to say something. If it didn't, they ain't. And like I said, that first year, it was a hot mess for me.
Yeah.
The second year, I was a little more into it, you know what I'm saying? But life was still lifing.
Yeah.
And it was because I hadn't committed myself. I hadn't surrendered yet. And then this last year when I did it, I started in Revelation, first of all. I started backwards. Like I started in Revelation because I heard something and I wanted to go through it. And then I went ahead. So I was already ahead.
Yeah. And
I didn't realize that put me ahead. So then as I'm going through the year and those days that I fall short where I didn't meet it, I'm still 25 pages ahead. You know what I mean? So when I would have the time and I could get in it, I would go ahead so that I would stay ahead. And so I realized that over these 3 years, what I saw was my consistency changed. I was looking forward to it instead of feeling like it was a chore. But if she had never suggested it, I don't know that it would have put me where I'm at right now. Because I told you I'd be going right and I'm supposed to go left. So
swerving.
But I think I went left at the right time. You know what I mean? And so I feel like you have to be open to receiving things and obviously you can't just listen to what everybody say, right?
Yeah.
But your friends who, are good in life, who have God at the front of their life, and they're saying, hey girl, you want to go to church with me? Yes.
Go to church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you can get up to go gossip at brunch, why you can't get up to go praise the Lord?
Yeah.
And I want friends that's telling me to go praise the Lord.
I'm going to invite you to church too.
Yes.
I'm actually going to a church conference and I'm going to invite you.
I think I saw that on
You
your
saw
page.
that?
I think I did.
You should go.
I think
it's going to be really nice. So I want to we talked about surrendering, right? And then we talked about recognizing when God is in control, like, surrendering and recognizing that God is in control and he's clearing the lane and he's doing this thing. And then the last thing was around the restoration, like, understanding that staying in God's restoration power while you're in the cruise control, because the cruise control covers you. God is covering you. And in that, he pulls his power down and you're restored, and how to stay in that. That's been key. So recently you wrote 2 books, right? So I feel like a part of that session and you getting into the writing, tell me about what was that like? Did you experience any of these, points where, what, I'm not going to fight it no more, and then it just happened? Tell us about the journey.
So someone asked me, because I published the first one in October. And I just published the second one yesterday, or I released it yesterday. And they asked me, how you doing it so fast? I'm not. This was me going right. I started writing these books a long time ago.
Okay.
But, going through everyday life, marriage, kids, like my wants were put on the back burner. Real estate is something I want to do for a long time. Was put on the back burner because I was a mom and I was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was taking care of them. And so, your kids are grown, you're free and single, and so it's just kind of like, what do you want to do? There were all of these things that I always wanted to do that I just never got to finish or never had the time to finish. And so those are the things that I'm putting out now. And it seems like I'm doing it at warp speed, but in reality, I started it a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so I think that the journey is don't put what you feel you're called to do on hold. I always said that it doesn't matter if I don't reach but one person with the books that I write. I don't care. That's all I needed was one. You know what I'm saying? Then it was meant for that person. If I went through all of that and it was just meant to touch that one person, then that's what it was meant to do, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure to some people it does seem like warp speed that I'm putting them out, but no, I'm just finishing what I started.
Finishing what she started.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. And so when you started on this journey and you realized, you went back and said, let me pull out some of the old books that I had and things, and you put them all together. How did the whole publishing, how did that just kind of kick in? Because that's a whole process too. Like, regardless if you have the stuff, you got to do the rest of the work too. So tell us about that.
It was overwhelming at times. I do my research on everything.
Yeah.
I got all the research. And, what I was finding, the biggest thing that I was finding is that some of those things, especially Dear Black Woman, I started that when I was in a place of hurt. And so not being in that place of hurt, going to therapy, doing the work, getting myself where I needed to be, and then going back to try to write that book.
Yeah.
I had to scrap the whole project because Hurt Me and Healed Me was beefing.
Oh, that's good.
They were beefing. And I could not put out what was I couldn't, because I was coming for women in Dear Black Women. I was coming for them because I was hurt and I felt a way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so having to shelve it and then do the work on myself, I could see the hurt in them pages. And that wasn't the message that I wanted to convey.
Yeah. And God wanted you to get the healing message out. versus the beefing message.
Exactly.
That was good.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And so going through that process, you know, so I write the book, and I had a friend in Denver that I said, I'd be like, go ahead and red ink it, you know, and it comes back, because yes, I could have paid a publisher, I could have paid, you know, an editor and all of these things. But the more research that I did and realized that I was going to give them more than I wanted to give them, not just monetarily, royalty wise, control wise. I was like, no, thank you. I want to keep control of what I do and how, and, you know, I don't want to be kind of like with modeling. They pigeonhole you, like, oh, this works for you, so stay in that lane. I didn't want that.
Right. You wanted it completely raw and to be you.
Exactly.
Authentically you. Because once people start to turn and, oh, you should have said this better, or you should have said that better, it changes. It changes the dynamic. So the Dear Black Women, tell us about that. What is that?
So that is... It is my love letter to Black women. They start out that way.
It's a memoir.
It is, but it isn't. It's not told in story form of what I went through, but instead the things that I recognized when I was healing. So, you know, like chapter 1, for example, is you are strong. We are. Yeah. Black women are very strong. Yeah. Sometimes we're so strong that that's all we are. Yeah. Chapter 2 is about self-care. And honestly, there's actually a line in that book to you, because you told me to celebrate me, which is not something that I always. My birthday, yes, but just everything else, like celebrating my wins. You know, that the energy you get from that and how good it makes you feel, you really don't realize what you're missing out on. That opens you up for more of that feeling. Yes. And so
I celebrate everything. When I tell you I will have an Easter party, a memorial party.
Right. It's a party.
4th of July. Oh, I just got a new job party. Oh, anything that remotely can have a win to it, I am that girl. Yeah. My husband told me the other day, he said, babe, I was looking for something on your social media. And he said, I noticed you celebrate everybody's birthday. And that's just me. Yeah. I love celebrating. And I just feel like when you celebrate, the energy just change, right? Yeah. Like when you're in a party and you're celebrating something, you're not worried about XYZ that's not fixed or not done. You're just focused on, this feels good, congratulations, and it brings more of that energy towards you. And you can't help but just go up. Like whatever it is, you just know God is going to put that person in your path. He's going to put this circumstance in your path, and it's going to go up.
And it does. And that's really what that's what that chapter is about. Like, girl, focus on you a little bit. Worry about you. You know what I'm saying? Make sure your cup is full, because then you can do the rest of the things you need to do, you know what I'm saying, to make stuff work. And chapter 5 is accountability, because one thing we got to do is take accountability. We got to take accountability for the things we go through, as well as the things we allow that shape what we go through. That's the hardest part, is recognizing I allowed this to happen. I seen the red flag, I seen the this, and I should have pivoted, but I didn't. So I can't really be mad. I have to own that so that I can move on. And then there are a couple other chapters like boundaries, you know, relationships and healing, right? Because all of those things are important. And then I think probably my favorite chapter, because their Dear Black Man is coming. But probably my favorite chapter is building the bridge between Black men and Black women. Just the things, you know, like you get online and you see the ugliness and you see the Black woman this and this and that. Like part of the problem is we need each other, and we sometimes act like we don't. Because we so strong, right? But we're strong because we're lacking. Like we need some of y'all to step up. The foundation, though. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right? We're lacking. It's the foundation between understanding the roles of what I listen, I may not be strong in that area, but you are. Exactly. So I need you because you're strong in that area, and us as one, listen, we going up. It's when we get out our own way. Yeah. But sometimes I got trauma and you got trauma, and ain't neither of us addressed our trauma, and so our demons playing together. It's not okay. Yeah. So you said that the part about the foundation between the man and woman, or more so the bridge connection, was your favorite chapter, right? What are the readers' feedback? What's been like some feedback that you've heard that says, oh, that's my favorite chapter? So I'll be honest, I have been bracing myself, waiting for the negative feedback, and I haven't gotten any.
Why is that?
I think, honestly, because I hit the nail on the head.
No, listen, as your coach, why are you looking for negative feedback?
Oh, wrong question.
Yes.
I don't know. I think that you just assume it's going to come. And I think I was looking for it because I didn't want to be blindsided. It was just going to be like, I'm going to face it head on.
Yeah.
But you're right. I shouldn't be.
You shouldn't be looking for it. Because see, listen, when you look for the negative feedback, you're putting on extra armors.
Yeah.
That
so funny.
You don't need. So you're carrying around extra equipment in case you might get hit. Now, for some people, they might think that makes sense. Like, oh, well, if I get hit, I'm straight. But no, if you don't get hit, you're heavy.
Yeah, you are.
You're heavy. And the perspective that you have with people is, whatever they say, it could be positive, but it's because you're expecting the negative and you're heavy, you're going to hear wrong.
Yeah.
You're going to hear, somebody could have said, I love this part of the book. It spoke to me. I just wish it had this part. You're like, oh, you wish it had that part?
Right.
What do you mean? So I would just say to you, don't carry unnecessary equipment on you that you don't need.
Yeah.
You think you might need it, but when you got God as your equipment, you don't need all of that. Your expectations should be that it is good, that it blesses people, whatever that means. Like even the person that's negative, they could say to you that, they may have a negative opinion, but at the end of the day, something in here blessed you.
Yeah, something resonated.
Something in here blessed you. You cannot tell me that you read this book and nothing blessed you.
So I would say that the where I got the most feedback was surprising, though. It was the chapter for accountability.
Okay.
The chapter for boundaries.
Okay.
In boundaries, I pretty much say something along the lines of, I don't care if you got to nacho your mama. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes your mama toxic, or whoever that person may be.
Sometimes that is the case.
Yeah, they be toxic. Yeah. You had to be like, hold up, let's roll up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like
you're not being productive for me right now.
Your sister, your mama,
whoever it is. And a lot of people have a hard time doing that. I know that I have a hard time with that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There were like, you've heard me say it 1,000 times. So many relationships have changed and disappeared in my life.
Yeah.
And I realized though it was all for my good.
Yeah.
Because the negativity, the toxicity, those were things that I didn't need to carry with me.
Yeah.
And I was lighter because of it. Did I miss them people? Was it hard at first? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Girl, I wish you well.
And another thing too is that I always say, if people can really understand the people that come in your life are set to give you experiences.
Sometimes they're a lifetime. Sometimes they're a minute.
Sometimes they're a lifetime. Sometimes they're a moment. Sometimes they're a little bit of a ride, right? But it still has an exit.
Mm-hmm.
But if you understand that the experience is supposed to give you something, the sooner you can progress forward in life. I feel like so many people on that horn, they spend a lot of time in the cemetery grieving old relationships, old people, friendships that has left them versus living life. Like understand, yes, it happened. Yes, they're gone. Bury the feelings that you had and understand that in me burying them, I'm pulling what made me stronger and what I need.
Yeah.
Right. And on that journey, I can continue on knowing that situation ended and that they're gone, but I'm better because of that.
Yeah.
Not because they're gone. I feel like so many people spend so much time in the cemetery.
Yeah, because they don't realize
grieving people.
It was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Exactly that way. It was something you were supposed to learn, something you were supposed to take from it. It had a purpose, and then it served its purpose and came to the end of its time. But we like to hold on to stuff because we want to be in control.
Yeah, yeah. And the fact that accountability was a popular subject or chapter was amazing because most people don't want to take accountability.
They don't.
They like to dance around it like, who, me?
Yes, baby, you.
I need to do something different. Well, if they hadn't done XYZ, then I wouldn't have done XYZ. But then I go back to the moment, right? Like when God connected you with the person, he knew what you were going to get out of it.
Yeah.
He knew that you were weak in this area.
Right.
So because you were weak in that area, he said, I'm going to pair her here. And at this moment, I'm going to allow that to die.
Yep.
And when I allow that to die, this should build her. This is going to build her up in this form, right? Here's the catch. It still builds us, whether it takes a right away effect or whether it takes a long time effect. And here's what I mean. You could spend time in the cemetery weeping and upset that someone has left you, and that may take you a day, 2 days, right? A week that you're upset, right? But there are some people that have spent years in the cemetery, and what they fail to realize is that you still gotta get it. You still gotta get what you were supposed to get from that experience.
Because otherwise you're holding yourself back.
Right. So here you are in this stall wondering why your life isn't progressing when the whole time you're in the cemetery.
I feel like it's the cemetery, but it's also or repetition. Because since you didn't learn the lesson the first time, you're going to be back in a similar situation and again until you get the lesson. But you're going to get the lesson.
Right. Right. And so what I like to call that is the death cycle.
Yeah.
So you just keep burying people. You like being in the cemetery. you done camped out. That's where your house is. That's where you at. You done got everything in this cemetery. So it is a death cycle that you keep repeating it because you're not listening.
Yeah. And I think that's the hardest part. Like listening. Like sometimes you hear something and you know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like when they be like, oh, if you see this, it was meant for you. Or if you hear something, it was meant for you. And it was.
Yeah.
And the question is, did you internalize it? Did you do the work? That's the problem. A lot of people don't want to do the work. Sometimes hearing something or understanding something or even taking something in makes you have to do some work. It makes you have to address you.
Yeah.
Look yourself in the mirror and be like, you know what? You need to tighten up. And that's what's hard for a lot of people with accountability. Looking themselves in the mirror, and nobody talks about how hard it is to admit to yourself that you're the reason. You are the problem. And until you change it, you're going to continue to be the problem. That's the hard part about accountability.
That is.
You can't lie to yourself.
That's right. I said it all the time.
I can sit in front of you and be like, girl, it's red on the wall. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I know that wall black.
Right.
You can't lie to yourself.
Right. And that whole like delusional place of lying to yourself, you'll be surprised that some people have made that delusional place home.
Yeah.
So you and I know it's a lie, but it's home to them because everything in their space is delusional.
Yeah.
So
and it's hard to let go of the delusion.
Absolutely. So people that are delusional and live in that fashion are people that are not happy with their reality enough to say, this is the way it is. They rather stay in this delusional space because it's easier to lie to themselves,
to blame everybody else,
and then to be in reality.
It's easier to blame everybody but you.
Yeah.
It takes some hard looking in the mirror.
Very much.
But if you do the work, I feel like doing the work is so worth it. And for me, you know what I'm saying? It took me a while to like do the therapy thing. It really did.
Yeah.
And then once I did, like I had the most awesome therapist. You want to know why?
Yeah.
Because she didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, she didn't do nothing. She was like,
that's a good point. I want to say this real quick. Some people believe that if they go to therapy is going to just take care of it all, right?
Right.
So for me, therapy allows you to sit with whatever it is that you're dealing with. And sometimes you need to sit so you can see, right? Sit to see. But I think you then need God's power. Listen, nobody but God can do the rest. God's power goes in and uproots it. Right? You can't just go to therapy and say, I won.
Yeah, no, that's not how that works.
Like you said, you went and she did nothing. But listen, she did nothing because she allowed you to see what you're sitting with, right? And then listen, to top it all off, God came right back and said, all right, you see, are you willing, right?
to do something about it.
To let me uproot it and restore.
Yeah.
Right.
That's exactly what happened. When I say she did nothing, we would have our sessions and she would be like, so how you doing?
Yeah.
And I would tell her. And then, basically from whatever I said I was going on, she would give me these questions, these homework questions.
Yeah.
And so, and I kept a journal of, whatever we talked about in therapy. And when it was all said and done and I was done with therapy, when I looked at that journal, like just reflection going back, where I started certainly wasn't where I finished, but even my handwriting was different.
Wow.
I was frustrated and hurt and, so I'm, mad and I'm writing and I'm taking notes and, you know what I'm saying? But as I started actually working through my stuff, my handwriting got lighter.
Wow.
I wasn't pushing the pen as hard. Right. There wasn't that dot on my, you know what I'm saying?
And you wasn't in a rush.
I wasn't. Then it was more expression and you know what?
And,
this is, And so, and I didn't recognize those things in the moment.
Yeah.
I recognized it going backwards, trying to tell my daughter something. And I was like, look, let me get my therapy journal. I'm going to show you what I mean.
Yeah.
And I went and I looked and not only did I walk her through because I was trying to tell her to go to therapy. But in there, I found, I write letters to myself. Yeah. And I think I told this to the group. There was a letter in there. Yeah. Every year at the end of the year, because I still do my vision boards. Every year at the end of the year, there's a letter that I write myself to next year's self.
Yeah.
And that letter, I remember when I opened it in 2022, I was upset because I didn't accomplish anything. I had set out to accomplish that year.
Yeah.
But 2023, I knocked all of that out the park. And so in me showing her my therapy journal to tell her, this is why therapy is important. This is why you need to do the work. I come across something that defeated me. And I don't know why I stuck it in the therapy journal.
Yeah.
But now as I'm telling my daughter something else, I'm looking at this and I open it up and I'm in tears because at this moment, I'm telling you why you need to do the work for you. And I realized that I felt defeated when I read this the first time, but now I'm standing here reading it as I'm instructing you to do what's best for you.
Right.
And I'm realizing that it wasn't in my timing. It was God's timing.
Right.
So everything on that list I accomplished the next year, but I was so hurt that I didn't do it when I said I was going to do it. But I recognized it's not my time.
But you had to take the accountability to get there though.
Yeah.
Like the whole process and all the things. And then you was talking to your daughter along the way too. Tell me what it's like to be on this manifestation journey or living intentional is what I like to say. So
right.
Living intentional and you have your daughter there firsthand and you're setting, as you are going, you're leaving a trail, right? Yeah. Of what it looks like to be intentional in life. And so tell me a little bit about that and tell us like how that's been as a parent. Like, do you get moments where you freeze up or do you just have these super transparent moments so that she's learning too?
I have always, with both of my children, kept it realistic. That's what I used to call it. Like, I'm not sugarcoating nothing because life is not going to be nice to you.
Right.
And so I think in some capacities, the relationship that I have with my daughter is very unique because I kept it realistic, right? And so she sees things for what they are. And, she'll have questions because she's young. But I think her watching me go down this path, it's weird because it's like we kind of balance each other sometimes. Because me, going back to church, all of these things were happening.
Yeah.
But me actually setting foot in a church was because she was going through the same thing. She cursed God when my father died. And she was almost a little atheist, I thought, you know what I mean? But just one day she's like, I want to go to church. And I was like, okay. And we've been going ever since.
Nice.
We be in the building ever since.
Yeah.
And before that, I was watching online, that kind of thing. So we kind of feed off each other in that capacity, but her watching me, it makes her want to be better. It makes her want to do more. Even she, I tell her all the time, like, you don't even recognize you're manifesting that car accident. I told her, you have been saying for the last 2 years that when you turn 25, you was going to get you a truck. She had it all together. I'm going to get me a Hyundai Tucson. I don't know why she wanted that, but that's what she wanted. She was like, I'm going to get me a truck. I'm going to trade my car in.
Yeah.
And she, she hits a beaver.
Yeah.
And it was devastating for her. She done killed an animal. She done tore up a car.
Oh, Lord.
She is just all of the things. She's all over the place. And I'm like, stop.
Yeah.
I said, you, and then she gets the new car.
Yeah.
And I said, you've been saying for the last 2 years you wanted a new car. You can't control how it come, but look at God.
Yeah.
Because you got a new car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's it definitely makes it easier for her to understand, you know what I mean? And
she's walking it out.
Yeah, and she's like, I want some of that. Yeah. Same thing I did. I wanted some of that. And she's like, I want some of that.
So we got the manifestation Mrs. Chapman in the building.
Yes, we do. Because baby, we can't have the same stuff. We are not peers.
Yes. I'm teaching my daughter too, so it's beautiful to hear you say that. Listen, we talked about a lot. And so one of the things that I want everyone to take away is the process, the process points, which is surrendering.
Yeah.
You got to relinquish control, because think about that pretty much that first year, you had control. You was holding tight. You was barely getting on the road. You was on the slow lane. You really didn't want to be necessarily in the lane yet. But it all happened when you surrendered.
It did.
Right. And then we keep going, talking about the divine rerouting, where God took the wheel and he cleared the path, and you trusted that God is doing just that. He cleared the lane and you went forth, right? Yep. Meaning that it was clear to you that this is exactly where you should be. And then heaven happened when he got pretty much put you on cruise control.
Yeah.
So here's cruise control. And it's like, God, everything is in your will, is in your way. And so you really can sit back and say, this is where I'm supposed to be, and I'm not going to move unless God tells me to move. Yeah. Or I'm not going to go right, because I'm going to always go back left. Right? So those are really key points. And then we even talked about how to stay in the cruise control and the restoration power of, allowing God to be a part of your life daily, not just doing something on a whim and saying, God, you with me, you get me out of this one time. No, God, I need you every day.
Every day.
So that was good. And we went into some other dynamics too that played with that. So this was truly amazing. And I just want to ask you, is there anything else that you want to share with the listeners, and tell us how to find you, and tell them about your book, how to find your books that you have, all the things. Ayshia is all the things.
Right. Ayshia is all the things.
Yes.
So I would say what I would want the listeners to take away is that if you get out your own way, it will happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen when you want it to happen, but it's going to happen.
Yes.
And so when you learn to rely on God's timing, you know it's coming. And that's it. And it may not come how you want it to come, but it's going to come.
Yes.
And as far as finding me, Dear Black Woman is on Amazon. It is also on Apple Books. And it's Ayshia Renee.
Yeah.
And that's Ayshia.
Yeah.
Renee, Renee. Letters to Him is a urban poetry collection. That's the one that I just dropped. And it is also on Amazon. And then Dear Black Man is coming.
Yes.
It will be out in June.
Yeah.
And then I will do a book signing here.
Awesome. Yes. You got some exciting things coming up.
Do.
And listen, I'm so excited that this is your third year in Manifestation Circle. You thriving. Listen, you cruise control.
Yes.
They can't mess with you. But listen, I'm so excited for you and everything to come. I'm your biggest cheerleader. I always say, I don't just coach from the top, I coach from within.
You do.
And I walk you guys out in the circle, because we all sisters and we get it together, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you again for being here. And listen, this was amazing. This was a good chat.
I was nervous at first.
We gotta bring you back again. Yeah, we gotta bring you back again. Listen, I hope this session blessed you. I hope this whole episode just had so many nuggets that it blessed you. If you found this a blessing, I would tell you to like, comment, and share. I do read the comments. I want to make sure this blesses your life. And also, too, continue to watch our very next episodes. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcast: YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Listen Now, Pod Addict, whatever it is that you listen to your podcasts, we're there. Just look up 225 Moments with me, MNicole. And don't forget to set your alarm. This time, you're setting your alarm for God to be in cruise control of your life. And I pray that it bless you. Have a wonderful day.